have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Everybody, welcome. We are live. It is Reality Rants. I apologize for the late start when you've got people literally across the country. We're here in the Midwest. They're down in Florida. There's a hurricane going on. I can only say this. There's going to be some technical snafus. However, that's why we've got it across platforms, and that's always why we have a hard copy, so that if you are a Red Voice Media member and you want to come over, you want to see the second hour that's uncensored, that's always going to be in the highest of quality. I want to remind people the audio is always going to be free over at Podbean, and we were originally supposed to have Ian Crossland on of Timcast from a pre-record I was going to do yesterday. Guess what? Internet went out for 7 hours yesterday. I guess I'm blessed it didn't go out during the morning show, because a little after 10 a.m. Central Time, my internet was out till almost 7 p.m. 7+ hours. That's always extremely inconvenient for a guy like me. And it also lets you know, like, the rest of your entertainment, right? I don't have cable. So everything runs through streaming services. Sure, you can use the data on your phone. Your Xbox, for instance, won't play certain games if you're not logged in. And that's really a microcosm for where everything is headed, because they want everything hooked into this ultimate track, trace, database system that goes beyond CCTV cameras, goes beyond AI and algorithms, but actually gets out of the Internet of Things and even sensors and things like that, you know, nanosats. Yeah, we talk about that. We're going to be talking about that a lot via the Muskernutz versus Joe Biden in a minute. Oh, that's another thing. I had that queued up. I'm going to have to go back and find the exact timing, but I think I remember it. Anyway, you have all this happening, but now they want to get under your skin, in your body. Internet of Things, Internet of Bodies. They want transhumanism. And we harp on that here because it's a big deal, because it matters, okay? This isn't Johnny nonsense that we're talking. This is Reality Row, all right? And Zombie J runs nothing. The little Muskernutz scrap up that they're setting up is like pro wrestling. It really means nothing. But it's something that we have to address, because it's something that the mainstream media and the alternative media are going to run with, and it's going to further deify Musk on one end of the spectrum and then vilify Musk on the other end of the spectrum, setting up that perfect left-right paradigm that these predator class individuals love to use against the general public. Period. So we don't have any interviews today. I was thinking Crossland was going to take up 60 to 90 minutes of the broadcast. I was home free. And then I saw this story. And after we get through some of the news and the Muskernutz, this is going to spawn another watch along on a certain section of my film, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. Recently, we have watched a segment on COP15, global governance, the climate change agenda of command and control. And again, that film's 2010. Still relevant today. Another reason it's relevant today is this bizarro story. Are you ready? I mean, just when you don't think you can get any crazier, you can get, where is peak insanity? I mean, I've said I mean a lot already, but when you look at this story, you think to yourself, well, it's probably always been crazy. Maybe it's always been this crazy. Visually, it's just getting worse because those at the top are getting their plutocracy, right? And they're making things worse and worse and worse for more and more people. And they're rubbing our faces in it with like a zombie poopy pants puppet. Those are all real things. This is a real thing, and this is going to spark today's watch along. This is not The Onion. I didn't make this up. I follow this person on Twitter because honestly, I feel bad for this person. I think there's something way more going on here. If you didn't see John Hinckley on Piers Morgan, it's just like, whoa, whoa. So, as I put it, and then we'll read word for word what John Hinckley wrote. This is really him. This is really him on Twitter. He's trying to tour with a music career. There's a tweet out there where the guy from Eve 6 wants to collaborate with John. Just total bizarre world. The man that shot Reagan, whose family had close ties to the Bush family, has started his own political party and has his own logo. You see that? The John Hinckley Jr. logo behind him? The black and white thing? Are we at peak 2022 yet? Or can the finale be more insane? By the way, we got a couple tips over at Rockfin I want to acknowledge because you guys, I'm wearing the Ray. I know that crypto's going through a rough spot right now, but you guys have helped support me so much. Drake the Snake Roberts, he says, down with Skynet. Oh, we're going to get into some Skynet. That's a promise. And then Sammy Slice, thank you for all you do, brother. Thank you. Hugs and kisses to you. So, look, I don't want to push it because we got almost a full 2 months. We got a solid 5 weeks. I want to have a nice Thanksgiving and a wonderful Christmas. But John Hinckley Jr., can't make this up. I'm starting the National Redemption Party. And listen, there has to be a path to redemption for everybody. All right. We are for peace, love, racial equality, LGBTQ rights. You forgot the plus. You forgot the plus. You forgot the non-binary, John. You don't want to, listen, if you're going to go full board, you don't want to be like a total bigot. You want to get the plus in there, right? Abortion rights, the Green New Deal. We oppose the mob that controls the music industry. To join the NRP, that's the National Redemption Party, send your address. Yes, you want to send John Hinckley your personal address to John Hinckley 413 at Yahoo to receive a membership card. And you don't think there's a membership? There is a membership card for this. That's the real deal Holyfield right there. Just wow. Like I said, just when you think you can't get crazier, I pull back and I go, you know what? That's a crazy story. That's nuts. But is it as crazy as the story, which we're going to show you later on, that his family was very connected to the Bush family? The old H.W., Pappy, and his son Neil. You don't hear a lot about Neil. You know about Jeb. Everybody knows about George. He talked kind of funny. You know, we didn't think we could go more peak buffoon than George. We did. Anyway, they're family friends of the Hinckleys. And I believe it was either the night of or the night after Reagan got shot by Hinckley, Neil Bush was supposed to have a dinner engagement with one of Hinckley's brothers. Total coincidence. Total coinkydink. And then, in the footage we're going to show you, because this is also totally normal, Hinckley, who clearly seems to be on the level, and Lord knows, first of all, what medications he's still on, but what kind of medications was he on when this incident happened? That's a question I still have. John, I would love to have a conversation with you. I mean you no ill will. No ill will whatsoever. This is a real question. And then the other question would be, you were staying in a hotel days before this happened, and yet you were taking phone calls, allegedly, as per news reports, at a payphone down the block. Why wouldn't you just use the hotel phone? It seems odd. Seems odd. And Hinckley's really been out for a long time. That's another incredible thing. This is a man that successfully shot the president, and a man who shot Brady, the Secret Service agent, who would, basically live the rest of his life in a wheelchair, barely survived, eventually succumbed to his degenerative condition, and the Brady bill was passed out of that. Large gun restriction legislation passed because of this guy. And he's been walking around really over a decade. It started where it was, he was only on jails on weekends. He was able to go and live with his family, and he had the bracelet around him, and then he was full with his family and still, basically on parole and all these other things. And now he's just out. I think parole's it. No, I mean, this is a man who shot the president of the United States. And he's just started his own political party based on every delusional, Bernaysian talking point, authoritarian, globalist agenda out there. We got another Rockfin supporter. Thank you guys so much. Great work. What's this? Yeah, working to enrich the mandrake. Thank you guys so much. Ian, thank you so much. You know what? I'm getting another text in Hutch over here. Also live on RVM this morning, guys, just to let everybody know. And we're on Getter. That's awesome, because one of the things when I first started Getter I was hoping to have was I was hoping to be able to actually live stream there. Can't do it unless you're a verified account. Guess who can? Red Voice Media can. And second hour, again, going to be exclusively over at Red Voice Media for the video. You're probably going to want the video so you can actually see the stuff I'm talking about. Because I don't just pull this stuff out of my arnis, right? We have mainstream articles, mainstream documentation, all of my documentary films. You can look up the headlines. A lot of people complain to me. They're like, you should put the show notes in there. Hey, you guys put the show notes in there. I'll pin the post. You know how many times I've looked this stuff up? I get it. I'm trying to stay away from the censors. And you shouldn't even be on YouTube. YouTube brings in a huge audience to then get people to go to the Rumbles, the Rockfins, the BitChutes, the Banned Out videos, all of which we're currently on. I'm very blessed to have a team behind all this right now. I admit that. Thank goodness. And by the way, can we get 100 thumbs up over on YouTube? The thumbs up, the actual comments, not just in the live stream, but down below, they absolutely help the algorithm, and they help people come to the channel and then start questioning why they are pledging allegiance to one party or the other, to one ideology, no matter what, when it seems a lot of these people, if not the vast majority of them, are either completely corrupt or compromised. That's why we focus on the Epstein stuff. That's why we talk about the Franklin scandal. That's why we played sections of Conspiracy of Silence here this week. And this is the final program of the second week of this thing. We're doing it 4 days a week. And what's awesome is next Monday, the paid section, the second hour, is going to be unlocked and free over at Red Voice Media as well. So another great way to support us, let's say if you don't go premium, is that you share the clips and show people this information. Or clip stuff up yourself and show people this information. It's important stuff. And with that being said, what I don't think is that important, what I think is kind of like a show for the whole shabiggity bango, is this all of a sudden this feud between Elon Muskernutz and zombie Jay Biden. It's absolutely ridiculous. First of all, I thought he was going to fall over. This was like an hour-long press conference. I haven't watched the whole thing. He did get it wrong. He's talking about, I'll show you that headline, talking about pulling out of Fallujah. He doesn't know when or where he is. He's referred to himself as the vice president a multitude of times. He said his son died in Iraq twice on camera now. Didn't happen. Man was always a corrupt grifter. He was gangster Joey B. Now it's over. It's over. So when he answers this question, first of all, it's not very coherent, right? Doesn't really make a lot of sense, but we're going to break it all down. He looks like he's going to die. He looks like he's just going to fold over and done. Ian says, thanks, Jason. No, thanks, John. You asked for getting the fun guns banned. What? Oh, yeah. You're talking about John getting a bunch of the... Basically, listen, John Hinckley and the Brady Bill were a big deal back in the day. Back in the dizzy. And I think that's late 80s, early 90s. That was big Second Amendment reform. All right. So here it is. Here's, we need to look into Elon Musk. And that's the thing. The mainstreamers, the quote-unquote lefties, the wokers, whatever, they're criticizing Elon Musk because they want authoritarianism and they want content moderation, right? And they want to stop Nazis by stopping free speech. Totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. Not valid reasons to go after Musk. And Joe Biden knows this. He knows this. He's playing right into it. Now, does Joe Biden know the extent of how important Elon Musk is as a frontline for the military-industrial complex? I'd say this. He might have more of an inkling of that than I could give him credit for, given his current dementia. As the vice president, as Tesla was kind of anointed as the new green vehicle, and he started to be brought in other respects via SpaceX and the CIA and NASA. Joe was with it enough then to know what kind of corruption goes on and black programs go on with that sort of thing. So, this may be one of his more sly dog attempts at an answer, but it's utterly ridiculous. All right, let's go to the clip. In the wrong one. In the wrong one, guys.
Mr. President, do you think Elon Musk is a threat to U.S. national security? And should the U.S., and with the tools you have, investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments, which include the Saudis?
So the Saudis, now we're worried about the Saudis. You're worried about Elon Musk and the Saudis. That's ridiculous. National security and the acquisition of Twitter, that's ridiculous. This guy's the largest DOD contractor out there. This guy's the guy that is arming the Ukraine with Starlink and riding along the Blackjack program. Facilitating, I'll say it again, death showers from above from autonomous robots. He's their buddy. He's their buddy. But we're gonna investigate him for national security. And then the Saudi Arabia, we're gonna try to play the Saudi card. The Russians, the Saudis, the Chinese. This guy's the most corrupt dude behind me. facilitated all sorts of international criminal activity when he was coherent. And it's kind of funny to him. He's going So let's hear Zombie Jay's answer.
I think that Elon Musk's cooperation and/or technical relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at. Whether or not he is doing anything inappropriate, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that it's worth being looked at.
The man can't speak. I wasn't being farcical that when I watched him answer this question, I was like, is he even going to make it? Let's bring it back. He can barely speak. Now, again, first thing he does is chuckle. He chuckles with this. All right. It's like, I can't, because I do believe deep down he knows that this thing that the media is putting out about the Muskernutz and Twitter and all this other stuff, that's a side issue. And by the way, Twitter opened it up to the blue check marks for like $8 a month yesterday. I almost bought myself a blue check mark. I mean, they're promising you the algorithm and the world, and people are going to see your posts, and then I can put out longer videos, and that's all great. Apparently, you can only do it through the iOS app. I'll see if I can do it online, but I'll pay the $8. You got me, Twitter. Even if it's only for 1 month, if I can get more people to look at this information, laughs on you, Joe. So let's bring it back. We'll bring it back to the scripted, ridiculous national security question. And then watch him. I mean, he can barely speak. Worthy of being looked at. And then at the end, he almost wants to say worst.
An unrelated question, too. Mr. President, do you think Elon Musk is a threat to U.S. national security? And should the U.S. and with the tools you have...
A threat to U.S. national security. The guy who's putting up the ultimate in track, trace, database, military technology, and a global skinned internet and sensor system. He's a threat to the national security of the regular person, not to the guy this guy serves. Part of the national security apparatus, part of the globalist agenda, part of the sustainability movement, part of the green movement, part of the Johnny nonsense that you just saw John Hinckley promote, reading off all those agendas and talking points. All right, let's continue. I mean, again, let's watch and to play the Saudi card, man. That's why we talk about Neom and the line here, right? Because it's global. It's like China's the model. They like the Chinese model. They like the social credit score system. They're going to slide the carbon system in there as well. That's going to be that authoritarianism. All right. They like that system globally, but they want you to have access to even less. So you got to take away nature as well. It's awesome. It's great. And then they'll just say, is Elon Musk a threat to national security? Are we going to look into the Twitter deal? Saudi Arabia.
Have investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments, which include the Saudis?
I mean, why? Who's chuckling in the background? Aren't you a reporter? Like, that's also just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we're lit in clown show world. A cartoon. So here it comes. Now Joe's been up there a long time. This is minute 44. I don't know how long it took him out to roll, but they don't have him out there for more than an hour. Ever. He does more than 5 to 10 minutes. That's huge for Joe.
I think that Elon Musk's cooperation and/or technical relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at. Whether or not he is doing anything inappropriate, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that worth being looked at.
It's words, worse. I couldn't even say worth being looked at. That's it. I mean, this guy's ridiculous.
But that's all I'll say.
But that's all I'll say. I mean, this is the guy they're telling you is running the country? That's the guy. 81 million votes. If you say otherwise, you're a bigot. At the same time that's being said, this is from October 25th. It's a few weeks ago. SpaceX bests Boeing to become NASA's largest for-profit vendor. That's how much of an outsider Musk is. That's how much of a national security threat Musk is. Hey, anybody with half a brain, look into any military paper from the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, where they talk about weaponizing space and it's important in next generation warfare, which is current generation warfare. Wake up. That's a show. That's all that is. That's a showski and hutchki. The guy can't talk. Here we go again, Joe. Biden says Russia is pulling out of Fallujah instead of Kherson in latest brutal slip of the mind for 79-year-old president. Latest slip. I didn't torture myself and watch that full hour. I'm sure we could have done that today. I was trying to think about, hey, what are we going to do? And then that John Hinckley story. Oh my goodness. What are we going to do for today? And those that have been with the Bermas Brigade a long time, you know that it's not uncommon for me at all to do a watch along with a press conference, especially if it's the President of the United States speaking, whether or not it was go all the way back in the day to George W. Bush, to Barack Obama, obviously to Trump, and now to Joe Biden. It's hard for me not to. First of all, they're usually short. They're never more than an hour. Trump would go on, man. Trump be out there for like 90 minutes, 2 hours sometimes. He loved it. And look, whether you like Trump or not, he can talk. He can speak. Like, you ask him a question like that, and he'll have an actual coherent answer, where at the end of it, he doesn't say a word that he's already said once, but then can't pronounce it the next 2 times. That's not going to happen with Don. Love him, hate him, indifferent, not going to happen. Joe Biden, there are moments there that you wonder if he's just going to fall down. I don't know. He doesn't seem to, he's confusing Fallujah with the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Yesterday, we talked about the exclusive hand sanitizers causing cancer, right? According to an exclusive by the Daily Mail. I'm not saying they cause cancer. I wouldn't want to get medical misinformation or some kind of a strike by daring to read mainstream articles. But the FDA, that the awesome Trust the Science organization, recalls another batch of hand sanitizers over deadly contamination. Remember when they were just pushing that everywhere? It's still in every corporate area out there. I can't stand it. Like, another reason I get extremely annoyed, upset, distressed when I go to visit my girlfriend who lives outside of D.C. in Virginia is everywhere I go that's like a corporate place, there's still like something talking about if you don't have to wear face masks. And then there's still a bunch of people in that area wearing them. Now, it's occasional here. Not going to lie. There's still some people, but I would say less than 5% here in Iowa. I go there 20, 30. We go to the mall or something like that. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are people still doing this? And I saw Bill Maher on Jimmy Kimmel. It's almost ironic that I bring Bill Maher up in this conversation because Maher himself is actually talking about people talking about him and misusing his words, et cetera, et cetera. Look, Maher, I've been watching you since you were on Comedy Central, before you were even on, what was it, ABC for Politically Incorrect, long before you went over to Real Time and HBO. I used to agree with you more back then. You still get some things right. But he starts talking about being at Jimmy Kimmel's show and that everybody is still wearing a mask. And he's like, what is this? Why is this happening? Why don't I have to wear one? And like Jimmy Kimmel's up there, well, you do have to wear one. Late night television is awful. I don't know that it was ever great. But there was a certain rush you got, like as a kid, at least for me, back in the day when someone like Johnny Carson had your favorite wrestler on, or had a star from one of your favorite movies on. It was there. Maybe that's just childlike wonderment. Again, I'm looking back at the world with 2020 and a different lens. But now it's literally all politics, all politics. And Jimmy Kimmel then admits, well, the reason that we have to do it, and by the way, his entire audience is still masked. If you're living in New York City or you're visiting New York City, right? You're on the tourism train and you got a ticket to one of these and you do that. What is wrong with you? What? To sit in a chair and watch some corporate hack tell terrible political jokes and then fawn over a bunch of celebritards? Yikes. Yeah, now you want to do that without a mask on. Hey, okay, I get it. Take the family. It's an experience. You ever been on a Hollywood set? It is something different. But to have to sit there and play pretend now almost 3 years later, okay? And then, I mean, it's already a big, anytime you're at one of these big live Hollywood tapings, it's all pretend anyway. It's all pretend anyway. Multiple takes, applause machines, comedians that come up and warm up the audience. It's all a show. All a show. It's really an extension of the reality they're selling us on that. But to sit there and have to be muzzled. And Kimmel says it's because of the union deals. What? The fact that unions, which were supposed to be set up for people like you and me to make sure that we had a living wage and good working conditions and a pension, and we couldn't get bent over for things like that, has been totally inverted. Another red flag. Almost 100 thumbs up over on the YouTube. Can we get them up? Can we get them up? One more story, and then we're going to hit Invisible Empire, a new world order defined. And we're going to go to the subsection after Iran-Contra, because basically Iran-Contra is where we got a glimpse into what some people would call the cabal or the deep state or the dirtier aspects of how this country and the world really work, who the real drug dealers are, who the real arms dealers are, who the real disruptors are. All right? But in that network is a guy named George H.W. Bush. Say it with me now. George Herbert Walker Bush. And this section kind of gives you a view that George Herbert Walker Bush went on a New World Order tour. All right? Went on a New World Order tour. No one had done that. He did that. And not only did he do that, his connections to some nefarious people and which administrations, for instance, do people know that, George was trying to get into the elected political arena, couldn't, but that's okay, because under the Nixon administration, he was ambassador to China. Oh, China. How do you think Kissinger and the gang got that Chinese model going? They supported it. Bush was a big old part of that. Big old part of bringing that model into fruition. And because of the Bush family's connection to John Hinckley, who, again, if you tuned in late, you can't make it up. John Hinckley, the man that shot the president, started his own political party and has his own logo. And it's all about peace, love, racial equality, LGBTQ rights, abortion rights, and the Green New Deal. And of course, he opposes the mob that controls the music industry. John's looking to make it big in the music industry. Just wild times. So I'm going to get to that clip right now. And look, we do it live here. I need you to thumbs it up, subscribe, share. We're here for another 19 minutes free. Then you come over to redvoicemedia.com/Jason. Right there. redvoicemedia.com/Jason. And once you do that, you can pay $1 for the first week and then $10 a month, or lock it in, $100 the entire year. I'm not going anywhere. You want a year of morning Bermas uncensored? So do I. So lock it in right there. 1 year. That helps support me. redvoicemedia.com/Jason. Here it is. Invisible Empire, a new world order defined. Let's meet the Bush family and how they're connected to the gentleman in the sunglasses.
Because high-level political officials scrambled to limit the investigation and establish plausible deniability for the upper echelons of the network, including Bush himself. So who is this guy? And how did he come to power? To understand that, we must first take a look at his father, Prescott. Prescott was born into privilege and became extremely influential in business, intelligence, and politics. He helped establish the CIA out of the Army's Office of Strategic Services with the Dulles brothers, and served as a senator in the state of Connecticut. However, during his time serving as one of the directors of Union Banking Corporation, he was doing business with Nazis.
The Bushes have been sort of at the heart of the military-industrial complex since its very beginning, and that Prescott was involved in a firm that actually fronted for Nazi firms in America.
In fact, Union Banking and its subsidiaries were seized by the United States government in October of 1942 under the Trading with the Enemy Act. After the war, the assets were returned, a few fines were paid, and it was swept under the rug of forgotten history.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that I just love it. I just love it when my nepotistic, generational, global leaders, right, men of high repute, are connected to Nazis. Great! Fantastic! Hooah!
These Nazi ties should not be all that shocking, seeing as it has been declassified that the Office of Strategic Services recruited Nazis into its ranks through Project Paperclip in August of 1945. George Bush seemed to follow in his father's footsteps, using Prescott's business connections to move to Texas and get into the oil industry. He would first attain political office as a Texas congressman in 1966, but then lose his bid as a Texas senator in 1970. It was at this time that Nixon appointed Bush as an ambassador to the United Nations. According to official accounts, Bush then began work with the CIA as its director in 1976. Evidence suggests that Mr. Bush and the CIA actually had a much longer-standing relationship.
There are indications that he had relations to the CIA before. There's a very strange memo, and the name's George Bush. And when this was published, there was a lot of fuzzing of the issues, but given George H.W. Bush's strong connections with the Cuban community, I think there is a good chance that it was that the George Bush we know, so that he did have a CIA connection.
Bush left the CIA just under a year after his appointment. He is credited with restoring the agency's morale, as its image was being shattered by the Church Committee's revelations of the CIA's unauthorized activities involving assassinations and corruption.
Right there, Richard Helms, really nice guy. Really nice guy. By the way, I have a Bohemian Grove collection. I wonder if I can pull that up. That'll be tough to find, but maybe we can. And the Bohemian Grove, George Bush, big member of the Bohemian Grove. And one of the pictures is him as like the central spy with a bunch of spooks around him, representing that short time at the CIA. Let's see. CIA, spooks, Bush, Bohemian Grove. Probably won't come up. But you know what? We're going to try. Nope. Let's see. Bush, Bohemian Grove. Maybe we can get that. By the way, why don't we bring that up so people can see which we're getting at here? Not seeing it. It is a little bit more of a rare picture. You don't see it everywhere. There's Bush and Art Linkletter at the Grove. This is I have this one. Everybody's seen this one. There's Newt Gingrich. There's Daddy Bush and Little Bush. Daddy Bush and Little Bush. Maybe we'll make it for some kind of a Bohemian Grove special. But yeah, if you don't know about the Bohemian Grove, no big deal. Just the spot where they came up with the Manhattan Project and nuclear energy and modern day compartmentalization. No big deal. Right, John Ronson? No big deal. No biggie. There. And by the way, there's Nixon with Reagan in the background. I suppose we'll get back to George Bush and how great he was. He's a good man, that George Bush. Good man.
In reality, Bush was responsible for denying the Church Committee many of the documents it requested and making it impossible for them to do a thorough investigation. After his time as CIA director, he devoted himself to becoming the next president of the United States. Many people within his own party did not like his globalist ties.
Along the campaign trail, Bush continually had to explain his association with the group.
So, J.R. Ewing in the show Dallas? J.R. is a member of the Trilateral Commission, I think. It's got to be because it's so bad. Let me tell you something. I used to be a member of it. I resigned, as I did from every business thing I was in, to concentrate on one thing, running for president of the United States.
Ronald Reagan initially had no interest in having Bush as his running mate.
Even then presidential candidate Ronald Reagan had questions.
I would suggest that maybe Mr. Bush would clear the air if he'd tell us why he resigned.
Reagan's backers then forced him to choose their intelligence frontman, George H.W. Bush, as his vice president.
Listen, he had the cheese, baby. He had that Rockefeller cheese. David!
But in spite of last year's campaign rhetoric, all seems to be back to normal between George Bush and his old colleagues, and President Reagan, who is relying on many of these powerful business leaders.
Oh, there's David. Oh, President Reagan relying on powerful businessmen. You know what, though? David Rockefeller, dynasty member, big oil, family full of eugenics, former naval intelligence, founder of so many of these behind-the-scenes organizations and then roundtable groups such as the Trilateral Commission. No power and influence. No power and influence. I'm sure fact checkers will tell you that. No power and influence.
To make his economic package work, will host commission representatives at the White House Monday.
After Reagan's election, there was an attempt on his life, just 69 days into office. Astoundingly, Bush would again be connected.
So just who is John Hinckley Jr.?
When he left this neighborhood 8 years ago, he was, by all accounts, well-liked and seemingly normal.
This donut shop near the motel was visited by Hinckley, who reportedly waited for a phone call here each day, even though he had a phone in his motel room. The nature of the calls is not known.
A touch of irony. The young man walking with the elder Hinckley is 30-year-old Scott Hinckley, John Jr.'s brother. He and Vice President Bush's son, Neil, are friends. They had planned to have dinner together in Denver tonight. The plans have been canceled.
We were told Hinckley was a madman acting alone. If that was the case, why was he making phone calls from a payphone down the road instead of his hotel room? Why was the would-be assassin's brother a family friend of the man who stood to gain the presidency? While Reagan led the nation in the public eye, Bush exploited his power through the largely unknown Continuity of Government Directive.
in the United States federal government.
So before we get to the continuity of government directive and how Bush championed the idea of a quote-unquote New World Order, I want to say it again. It needs to be said again. The guy that shot Reagan, who's connected to the Bush family, one of the most powerful political dynasties in this country, is not only walking around a free man, someone who actually committed real political violence with a real gun, right? While we're being told all the time how dangerous extremists are, this is actual extremists, apparently, has started a political party, the National Redemption Party, the NRP, and you can get a membership card by emailing him directly at Yahoo. It's 2022, folks. It's 2022. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. So, what this section is going to do is it's going to expound upon how we got into this situation with what Peter Dale Scott termed the deep state. Yeah, the gentleman that you've seen talking, the rather elderly gentleman, even back then in 2010, I think we recorded it in 2009. He's the guy that termed deep politics, deep state, deep events. All right. And the way, aside from that post-World War II Nazi model that we just took a glimpse at, that these people have gained power is through the continuity of government program, which is the true shadow government. All right. This is the thing outside of the Constitution and Bill of Rights that is extremely dangerous and is completely, in my opinion, unaccountable.
There is a super secret agency which controls this shadow government.
The National Program Office allowed Bush and his network to attain executive emergency powers.
Ronald Reagan authorized the National Program Office when he signed a top-secret directive in 1982. Oliver North was one of the key officers responsible for the program's startup. Under the NPO's direction, 4 agencies were charged with execution of the Doomsday Plan: the CIA, the Departments of State and Defense, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
An effort was being made to consolidate continuity of government programs across several major departments of the government under one office.
After 8 years of secret wars, covertly sponsored revolution and assassination had advanced globalist interests and allowed Bush to achieve his lifelong dream by becoming the 43rd president of the United States. The fall of the Soviet Union left the United States as the sole superpower in the world. The Wolfowitz Doctrine stated, "We must maintain the mechanism for deterring potential competitors from even aspiring to a larger regional or global role."
Wolfowitz, another person that went into the second Bush administration. Yeah, George W., he was a puppet. But the people behind the puppet show were right there in the administration. Very visual. This new puppet show with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who you could say Larry Fink, and you could talk about the Barack Obama Stay Behind Network. It has never been more shadowy. The people within that administration outwardly, in most cases, like Mark Milley, are a joke. They are a joke.
The New World Order was on display with the first Gulf War and the creation of a European Union. After losing to his crony Bill Clinton, he faded into the background as the agenda for a New World Order marched forward.
After 1989, President Bush kept said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a New World Order.
We have just exposed many of the globalist operations, including drug dealing, funding terror, dealing arms, and taking over the United States government by stealth. Whenever these agendas were threatened, those who opposed them ended up dead.
You know, we get into that if we want, but I want to go back to where George Bush right here just went on tour. Went on tour with this. Here's Kissinger talking about a New World Order. I think this is somewhere in the 2006 to 2009 range. But Pappy over here, this is a separate section more towards the beginning when we're establishing, hey, wait a minute, they're really using this terminology. Hey, wait a minute, this really does mean globalism and collectivism. Hey, wait a minute, this would destroy the sovereignty of this country. The idea of a Bill of Rights, a constitution that empowers the little person. All right? So we got 5 minutes left, guys. Remember, you can listen to the rest of the broadcast over at Podbean, but you want to go to redvoicemedia.com/Jason and make that premium subscription to watch along. But hey, if not, I get it. All the documentary films, the one we're watching right now, they're still free of charge, and I want you to watch them, share them, make copies, put them on thumb drives, hand them out, and get the info out about this very, very real New World Order agenda.
The existing international system was based. It's either giving up its traditional aspects, like in Europe, or as in the Middle East.
George H.W. Bush would campaign for a new world order like no other president before him. He would openly discuss it during his State of the Union address.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
Again, a unified Europe was a major goal in creating this order.
With few exceptions, the world now stands as one. A year and a half ago, in Germany, I said that our goal was a Europe whole and free. Tonight, Germany is united. Europe has become whole and free. The world can therefore seize this opportunity to fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order. We can find meaning and reward by serving some higher purpose than ourselves. A shining purpose, the illumination of 1,000 points of light.
Bush Sr. and his administration would tour and promote this agenda across the board at any given opportunity.
The president has spoken often of a new world order.
And we have an unprecedented opportunity to build a new era of peace and prosperity here and abroad, to build a new world order.
It's my understanding, I think that the president, and I don't know the context of how it came up in his speech last night in New York, said that China must be a part of the new world order. Guess I would like to ask you how you envision China fitting into the new world order.
It is a country that we are going to have relationships with by virtue of its geopolitical importance.
American officials say breaking down regional and national barriers to the flow of goods and services would represent a spectacular benefit to economies around the world.
We are building a new world order.
Bush would actually make a commencement address at Maxwell Air Force Base declaring the birth of this order.
And that's why I wanted to speak to you today about the new world taking shape around us, about the prospects for a new world order now within our reach. In the coming weeks, I'll be talking in some detail about the possibility of a new world order emerging after the Cold War. But today, I want to discuss another aspect of that order. You see, as the Cold War drew to an end, we saw the possibilities of a new order in which nations work together. It refers to new ways of working with other nations to deter aggression and to achieve stability. As old threats recede, new threats emerge. The quest for the new world order is in part a challenge to keep the dangers of disorder at bay.
You know, the dangers of disorder, a free and open society, one with national barriers, with a separation of power, you know, those things. Well, we're going to go a couple more minutes here, but then we're going to be only on RVM. We're going to let Bush finish up this subsection where he actually gives out New World Order commemorative pistols. I think they're Desert Eagles to members of his administration. You cannot make this up.
We must build on the successes of Desert Storm to give new shape and momentum to this new world order. Only when this transformation is complete will we be able to take full measure of the opportunities presented by this new and evolving world order. The New World Order really is a tool for addressing a new world of possibilities. This order gains its mission and shape not just from shared interests, but from shared ideals.
After the Gulf War had ended, Bush was so obsessed with the idea of a new world order that he had a series of Glocks imprinted with the term that he would give to members of his administration, including Colin Powell, Brent Scowcroft, Dick Cheney, and General Norman Schwarzkopf. Cheney would even approve policy papers regarding the New World Order.
Look, that's a good place to cut it off. We got started a little late, couple tech issues, happens. Not a big deal. We're here to win ball games. On the way out, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Again, redvoicemedia.com/Jason. That's where you can watch this uncensored and sign up or listen to it for free. For free, guys. We do it freestyle over at Podbean, and we're on everything you can imagine. Clip these out, share them, email people, get people to tune into the show. So far, so good in the first 2 weeks, and we expect to grow this show big time. Better guests, call-ins, you can call in right now via the old app, the Podbean app right now. If you're there, my producer gives me a text. I take your call. We have a discussion. Maybe you want to talk about 1,000 points of light. By the way, Sandusky's Second Mile Foundation was part of George Bush's 1,000 Points of Light. You know, the foundation with the children, that one. With that being said, guys, we're probably going to watch more of the film on the other side. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Rockfin,